Here we are. Okay, well, good morning. And today we're out in Wiltshire, one of the chalk and cheese counties. Or the chalk and cheese county. Which is it, Sheila?
Oh, I don't know.
Nor do I. Anyway, we're in Great Wishford at the moment, and we're heading up to Groveley Wood. Oh, some people there. Hello. We're heading up to Groveley Wood, and Groveley Wood is where the Clubmen rendezvoused in 1645. But at the moment we're driving to the little village of Great Wishford, and Great Wishford is interesting because it's still, oh there it is, look, the Royal Oak.
Oh yeah.
It's where they still celebrate Royal Oak Apple Day.
No, it's just called Oak Apple Day.
Oak Apple Day.
Yeah.
And they go up to Groveley Wood to gather wood, and it's their public right from a charter that was signed in 1603. The charter of the woodland, ancient woodland or whatever. I haven't really investigated that side of it. Anyway, it's a beautiful day, it's sunny, it's the best day we've had for filming so far, and there's people in front with dogs and horses really out on the sticks here. Yeah. So I mean, we'll talk when we get near the wood.
You might want to concentrate.
Yeah, we've got horses here and lots of things going on, you know. It's a real country affair. This is quite interesting because this is like an actual amphitheatre as we drive into Groveley Wood. So maybe because it was actually Groveley where these people met. So maybe it was more this area, but who knows? But I better concentrate on my driving now. Yeah, so let's just get up there, and when we get up, we'll have a cup of coffee, and I'll read my notes, and then I'll look all professional to camera.
You hope.
What do you mean you hope? I'm always I am a professional.
And I'll try not to have, you know, like shaky hand syndrome.
This lady on the camera is from Retro Ain't. She's a godsend really, because she makes sure I get everything right and everything's not complicated.
What do I?
Well, yeah.
I try my best.
Anyway.
I've been waiting ages for you.
Here we are. This is Retro Ain't Field Productions Motor Transport. Fantastic bit. It's an old Renault.
All more cons.
It is. Let's have a cup of coffee. It's in the boot there.
Yeah, okie dokie.
All right.
Black one sugar for me.
And we're going to walk up this track in a minute to see where the Clubmen might have met at the top of this hill, or the old hill fort this way. But while we're here at the entrance, I just want to mention some of the history of this place, the macabre stories. There's a story about a poacher here, and they call him the Birken Woodsman, and he was caught poaching in these woods, and he was hung here. And they say sometimes when you're walking along this ridgeway or in the woods, and if you hear a twig snap, that's him. He's in your vicinity and he's watching you, you know. And people do talk about people being watched here and feeling somebody's watching them. But the real horror story of this place is it was about in Great Wishford when smallpox arrived in the town, the little parish village, and there was some sisters, I think they were Swedish, were they? Scandinavian, the Hansel sisters anyway, yes, and they were accused of witchcraft and causing the epidemic of smallpox that was hitting the town. And they were brought up to here, these woods, and bludgeoned to death because they were seen as outsiders, and it was their fault that all these things were happening, which is you know, not far from where we blame outsiders of things today. Things don't change much, you know. But yeah, they were brought up to here, they were bludgeoned to death, and it says there's 4 beech trees around here, and I know there are because I've seen one already. But the beech, it is beech?
I think actually they're horse chestnuts.
Horse chestnuts?
I think they're horse chestnuts.
Horse chestnuts.
But we're going to have a look. We're going to have a look.
But I always get one thing wrong on these things, and that was it. So that'd be the last thing that goes wrong.
People wait for that.
They do.
People wait for that.
So it's horse chestnuts. But and there's 4 horse chestnuts here planted, or they just grew, and it's a reminder to the mob in Great Wishford about the crime they committed. And that's one of the folklore tales about Grovely Wood. But I'm here today really to talk about the Clubmen, and we're going to walk up this ridgeway now, this old ridgeway. This is an old Roman road which predates back, it's Saxon, predates it even, that's from there, the Great Ridgeway.
That's right, the actual ridgeway along the
that's
top.
Right, yeah.
I think it's called Grimsditch.
Grimsditch.
I think so. I'd have to check that out. But that, was Anglo-Saxon, and then the Romans. Yeah.
And this is also the ridgeway where Charles II made his escape back in the English Civil War. So it's all relevant to the Clubmen from that period. But anyway, we'll walk up here and we'll talk about the rendezvous with the Clubmen here back in 1645.
In about 3 weeks' time, 3 or 4 weeks, this is going to be all bluebells.
Where we are now is Grovely Hill Fort. Now this is an old ancient hill fort, and what I believe is this is where the Clubmen would have met in 1645. Now what we know is a man called Christopher Dell was coming into Salisbury in 1645, and he was arrested by the Parliamentarian army. Now they thought he was a spy, but he actually had to write this deputation to the Judge Advocate John Miles of the army. And in that deputation he talks about where they met, and he says we met at Grovely, we met at Warminster, and we met at Stonehenge. Now if you're going to meet at Grovely, it's not in the wood. It's such a dense woodland. They're not going to meet in there. There was 4,000 of them. So I believe it would have been at the ancient hill fort here, because this is like a natural amphitheatre, and it's like all the things, it links up with all the Clubmen we've been to before, like Hambledon and Badbury Rings. They're all ancient hill forts. So I think it's here, and that's why I'm going to stick my name to it. But the interesting thing about Christopher Dell is that he was in the King's forces and he left. And I'll put my foot on that. There you go. He was in the King's forces and he left, and he joined the Clubmen. And I think he joined the Clubmen because he just witnessed the plundering and everything that was in this area. But one of the articles they read at this place, I shall read it here, is that at Rendezvous, where we met at Grovely, here, there were certain articles read and proposed to them, which they all assented to by giving a shout. And obviously that shout is, huzzah! Because that is what they all did then. So that's all I want to say about Christopher Dell, really, because all I want to talk about Christopher Dell was where the area was. But what we're going to do is we're going to go back into Grovely Wood, and there's a lovely avenue of beech trees there, and we're going to talk about the Civil War of then, 1645, and all the mayhem it caused, and the plundering and pillaging, and a war, intestine war they called it, of the intestine, which is it was a great term because it's inside and it turns you inside out. And we're going to link it up with the Yemen and the Syria conflicts at the moment, because there's a recent article in the Independent today about a new exhibition at the Army Museum with some artefacts from the English Civil War, and they actually write in that piece, they talk about Syria and Yemen in that piece and the similarities with the English Civil War. Just to show you the ridges that are still here, because a lot of it's been ploughed, and I just wanted to show you where what I believe the Clubmen would have stood at the time, because it's such a great Salisbury Plain is over this way, and Warminster would be this way as well, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Warminster would be this way as well.
Yes.
So if retro it ain't, camera lady here, there's a quick pan, you can see, get your bearings.
that little group of trees over there is where we've just done our filming. Isn't it, Hayden?
It is. Do you want me in the shot all the time?
Yeah, I do. Well, no, I don't actually.
Can we walk down there?
Yeah, go on. Mind those puddles.
At the top of Groveley Wood, and this is the Beech Tree Avenue behind me, and it's rather beautiful. But what I want to talk about now is the displacement of people in the plundering and pillaging, and how it relates from the civil war of that time in 1645 to the present time in places like Yemen and Syria. Because one of the people to get arrested, captured at Hampden Hill, was the minister Robert Frampton. Now Robert Frampton was in the civil war at that time here, back in the 17th century, but he went to Aleppo, and at the time Aleppo there was stability, and instability was in this country. So that's what I want to say really. I want to say all these things are a continuation, and it's all related, and we still live in those times, but on an international level. So that's what I want to say today. But I want to finish off with, please check out the site, Clubmen 1645. It's a work in progress, and check out the website Retro at Ain't, because Retro at Ain't is the person that's doing all the camera work here, and I think it's a great website because it makes everything not abstract, and it's a continuation of all those times as then as now. One of the Hansel trees, and it's a
beech tree.
It's a beech tree.
I know, I got that
So no
wrong.
mistakes today for me. It's the camera lady.